Hello, this is Jean Marie Ward for Buzzy Magazine. With me today is Richard Kadrey, the New York Times best-selling author of the Sandman Slim supernatural noir series. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're thrilled that you can join us today. Ballistic Kiss, the 11th Sandman Slim novel, is scheduled to be published this summer. They're advertising it as the second to the last in the series. Was a 12-book series always part of your grand plan for hero James Stark, or anti-hero James Stark, when you started out?
No. With all this kind of writing, there's a certain amount of gambling with the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
When I sold Sandman Slim, I got lucky in that they wanted 3 books. So I got to write the first 3. And then I very deliberately left that last book open at the end. And then they decided they wanted another 3. So I was able to create what I wanted to do, was that 6-book arc.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to come up with that. And then when that was done, it was like, all right. So Stark had come to a really stopping point. I mean, Stark was still alive. I thought the characters were still alive. The world was still alive. So I wanted to keep going. But Book 7 had to kind of reboot everything.
Mm-hmm.
So Book 7 is the beginning of a second 12-book arc that I'm writing. I'm writing Book 12 right now that will end that arc and end the Sandman Slim series.
You said second 12-book arc or a second?
No, a second 6-book arc, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the whole thing will be 12, but it's 2 6-book arcs.
Okay, very cool, very cool. How does the James Stark of Book 11 compare to your original vision of the character?
Well, James Stark in Sandman Slim, the first book, is clinically insane.
Mm-hmm.
He's just spent 11 years in hell. He just crawled out, barely made it, wakes up on a pile of burning garbage in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, on fire,
Mm-hmm.
manages to put himself out, and then tries to come to grips with the fact that he is back in the world, that the world has gone on without him, that his lover, Alice, is dead, and that he wants to find the people that are responsible for his situation and murder them all.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, he feels that the world deserted him, that God deserted him. Once he is done with the people who he feels wronged him, he is quite happy to see if he could just destroy the world itself. He is a madman. The idea of the Sandman Slim series was the rehabilitation of a monster. And that's what I've tried to do over the whole series of 12 books.
Mm-hmm.
So the Stark of Book 11, is very different from the Stark of Book 1.
Mm-hmm.
Book 11, Stark is grappling with a mystery, a murder, violence, but he's also grappling with romance, with complicated romantic situations, both with his old lover Candy and a new lover Janet.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Ballistic Kiss comes from. It comes from that emotional, romantic part of the story that's as complicated as anything else in Stark's life.
A 12-book arc for any character, even if it has an overarching arc like redemption, such as you have for James Stark, is a horrific commitment for a writer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep the characters alive in your own mind and avoid burning out on them?
You keep throwing them into new situations. You keep creating new obstacles for them. In this new book, as I said, it's a mystery. Mm-hmm. He's dealing with old situations, his relationship with God, his relationship with Samael, who used to be Lucifer. So that's there from the old days. But in this new book, Stark is grappling with, as I said, a new lover named Janet, who is non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
So Stark has to confront pronouns for the first time in his life. The whole concept of pronouns is alien to him. So it's little things like that where you keep putting your character in physical or mental or emotional precarious situations. You find some new way to throw them off balance. one of the things I learned early on from talking to other writers and some critics is that the problem of the long-standing fantasy series is the characters, the protagonist, tends to become godlike. They keep picking up powers as they go along. So one of the things I've done with Stark is I take things away from him.
Yes, he has, in the opening book, a very, very powerful object.
Yes.
And I understand you took that away in later books.
Yes, that went away. Certain powers of his went away. They slowly came back in some ways, but I never want him to get too powerful. When he gets too far up there, I'm going to knock him down again and make him discover the world in a new way, and discover the world in a more difficult way. And that's how I've managed to keep the series going for as long as I have.
And I would imagine that part of the redemptive arc is becoming more human.
Absolutely. That's what the thing comes down to. Stark wanted no relationships. He didn't want to know anybody. He wanted no friends, no lovers, no nothing. But it happened anyway, because at his core, he is a human being, and a decent one. Mm-hmm. And that just crept up on him, that he starts caring about people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's redemption with Stark, but it's certainly Stark paying off what he owes the world, I think.
Mm-hmm. Whereas they say in A Christmas Carol, not redemption, reclamation, rather.
There you go.
Okay. We've talked a lot about Sandman Slim and how to prevent burnout. I'm wondering, does writing other kinds of books, like the Mike Coop books, the Grand Dark, does that play a role in keeping yourself fresh?
Absolutely. You have to change things around every now and then. I can't write Coop 100% all the time. Excuse me. Coop or Stark or any of those characters. Mm-hmm. Coop I don't have to worry about anymore because Coop's dead.
Yeah, well, Coop dead to publishing.
Yeah, Coop was a fantasy character, a thief that I created because I wanted to write some caper novels. Mm-hmm. I wrote 2 with Coop. I really enjoyed the first one. I had problems with the second one. I don't think it's as good. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad I got to write them. But the fact is, neither book sold. So the problem of Coop books doesn't exist for me anymore. No one wants them. Mm-hmm. So Coop is over. But I got to write one good Coop book, The Everything Box, I think. And I stand by that book. I think it's a funny book. I think it's a good story. And I kind of enjoyed that one.
Cool.
But you have to write different things. I wrote the Grand Dark between Sandman Slim books, and that was a very different book for me. It's much slower, it's more literary, it has a protagonist who is the opposite of Stark in many ways. He has no supernatural powers. He is very real in the real world. He's a 21-year-old bicycle messenger drug addict.
In the Weimar Republic.
In a mutated version of the Weimar Republic. Uh-huh. And that's it. It's the story of a young man getting his ass kicked and growing up very quickly in a strange world on the brink of war, on the brink of plague, in a world in which it's based on sort of 1920s, 1930s world. So there are things like genetic engineering, but they're very crude. Mm-hmm. There are robots, but again, they're very crude. But all the people who are working with those systems are trying to improve them all the time. And they're one more layer of strangeness, but also intimidation all the way through the book as this plague is moving through the city, as this new war is coming closer and closer to reality.
Do you ever feel uncomfortably like Cassandra, having put that book to bed, sent it off, and now it's in the world? Do you feel like, oh damn, I didn't mean to be prescient?
Yeah, that just sort of happened. I didn't mean to write a pandemic book, but yeah, it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, writers, they have brains and they're kind of psychic. It's scary. Yeah. We're coming up on the end of the interview, and there are 2 questions I always ask. Right. The first being, what are you working on now?
I'm working on the last Sandman Slim novel right now. and I'm still in the planning stages. I don't have a lot of words on paper, working more with the conceptual elements right now. I know the ending, I know the beginning, I know parts of the middle, and that's where my concentration is right now, getting those little details, because there's so much stuff in Stark's life right now that's so complicated. So I want to weave his personal life in with the story in a really intimate way, and that gets complicated.
And you have to call out to all the characters from other books, don't you, that are still alive?
Well, not necessarily that, but I definitely, because it's the last book, I want to, in a lot of ways, go back to the beginning. So there's a lot of, not characters, but ideas and themes from the early books that get taken up into the last book, book 12, but in new ways.
Yeah, cool. And finally, because no interviewer is perfect and no interview is perfect, is there anything you'd like to add or talk about?
Ballistic Kiss comes out August 25th. I hope you will buy it.
Cool.
Because my cats need food, and so do I.
Oh, yes, we must feed the cats.
Yes.
You're incidental. Anyway, thank you so much for talking with us today, Richard.
Thank you.
And thank you for Buzzy Magazine.